I caught my boss copying my code into his personal startup folder. When I asked about it, he laughed and said, "If you were smarter, you'd steal from me first." So I let him launch it, let him market it, then filed a copyright claim with proof for my Git history. His app's getting pulled tomorrow. And that's just step one of what I'm doing with. I've always been the type to keep quiet and just do the work. I don't like drama. I don't like politics. I just want to build good software, get paid, and go home. So, when I joined this tech company 3 years ago, I didn't expect anything more than that. I was a front-end dev, nothing fancy. React, TypeScript, state management, UI stuff mostly. I like my team. I like building things. I even liked fixing things no one else wanted to touch. It felt good to take messy old code and make it work better. My boss, Alan, came in about a year and a half into my time there. He wasn't technical. He had some startup experience and an MBA. Slick guy. Always wore expensive shoes and used phrases like leverage synergy and move fast and optimize later. The kind of guy who could charm investors but didn't really understand code. At all. He took over our product team and things started changing fast. He wanted more demos, more wow factor, more velocity. I didn't mind that. I liked a challenge. So I stepped up a little, started refactoring old modules, building reusable UI components, and cleaning up the front-end pipeline. It helped everyone. Our load times got faster. Our deployments got easier. Users noticed. Alan noticed too. Or at least he noticed me. Not in a good way. He started sitting in on my stand-ups more. Always asked me to share my screen, even when I didn't have much to show. He'd zoom in on stuff I was doing, ask what certain functions did, or what libraries I was using. I thought he was just trying to understand the code better, so I explained things. Slowly, I realized he wasn't asking to learn. He was asking to take. I brushed it off at first, figured I was being paranoid. But then I started seeing weird things. One night, I was working late, like 10 p.m. after hours. I was digging through some old Sprint folders, trying to find a component I'd built 6 months ago. Something I wrote from scratch. I couldn't find it in the main repo, so I went digging through our shared team directories. That's when I saw a folder buried deep in an old backup folder. It was called Allen Assets Final or something like that. Super generic. But something told me to open it. Inside were folders named components, services, assets, all like a front-end project. I opened one of the files. It was mine, not similar. Mine. My structure. My comments. My logic. Even the dumb placeholder variable name I used when I was tired. It was like someone had copied it from my editor, pasted it into a new project, and never even tried to hide it. I sat there for a few minutes just staring. I opened more files. Same thing. My name wasn't anywhere on them. No credit. No mention. I didn't say anything the next day. Or the day after. I wanted to be sure. I needed to know what I was dealing with. So I started planting little traps. I'd add tiny notes in comments, phrases no one else would write. I started pushing test versions of components into unprotected folders on our repo. He always checked those folders. I'd name things in a way that looked tempting. Sure enough, a week or two later, those same exact pieces of code appeared in his startup folder, renamed but otherwise untouched. At this point, I started keeping my own Git mirror at home. Every commit I made, I pushed it there too, with timestamps, full logs, screenshots. I even recorded a few of my screen shares when Alan asked me to walk him through code during meetings. I saved everything. Then I confronted him. Quietly. I didn't accuse him. I just asked, "Hey, I found a folder with some of my code in it. Looked like a side project. Just wanted to ask." He laughed. That's all. Laughed and said something like, "If you were smarter, you'd steal from me first." I didn't even reply. I just nodded and left the meeting. I think that was the moment I stopped being the guy who just keeps his head down. I wasn't angry yet. I was just still, like something in me had locked into place. He didn't see me as a person. He saw me as free labor, someone to strip parts from. He thought I was too quiet to fight back. So I let him keep going. I spent the next few months feeding him, I started building full components just to lure him. I put them in places I knew he'd look. I made the code clean, pretty even. Features that looked like gold for a new product. Things like drag and drop UI, autoform generators, even a whole design system I never pushed to our main branch. He copied all of it. Meanwhile, I logged every single thing. I kept my Git mirror updated. I saved diffs, screenshots, folder timestamps. I tracked when he accessed certain files. I even managed to get backup logs from our internal file system that showed him copying files during off hours. Then he quit, or took a leave for personal development, as the HR email said. It didn't take long to figure out what he was really doing. 2 weeks later, a press release went out for a new, innovative productivity app for remote teams. The landing page used the same font stack I used in my testing environment. The demo video showed UI I built with my own hands. He didn't even change the layout. He raised a seed round, did interviews, called himself the founder, wore the same smug grin I remembered from our meetings. I watched. I waited. I made sure every single thing was documented. I even got a lawyer friend to help me format the takedown notice. 3 nights ago, I filed the copyright claim with the hosting platform, included a full Git log, side-by-side code comparisons, and even a timeline showing when my components were created and when his copies appeared. They responded fast, faster than I expected. Tomorrow morning, his entire app is scheduled to be pulled. Site down, App Store pulled, services frozen. But that's not the part I'm most focused on. That was just step one. The night before his app was supposed to get pulled, I barely slept. I kept refreshing the hosting portal like it was some kind of scoreboard. When the takedown finally went through, I saw the red "removed for copyright violation" banner. Just like that, it was gone. Months of his copying wiped out in a few seconds. I thought that would be it, but I underestimated how desperate Alan was. By the next day, my phone started blowing up. First, messages from old coworkers. They sent screenshots of Alan ranting on LinkedIn, claiming he was the victim of sabotage. He called it a coordinated attack by jealous employees. He didn't name me directly, but I could tell from the way people messaged me that everyone suspected. Then he emailed me directly. Long, angry paragraphs. Accused me of ruining years of work. Said I was too small-minded to understand the vision. He even threatened me. Said he had powerful investors who would bury me if I didn't back down. I didn't reply. I just archived every single email into a folder marked evidence. But Alan didn't stop. A week later, HR called me into a meeting. Apparently, Alan had filed a formal complaint against me while he was still technically on leave. He accused me of stealing his code, claimed the startup had been in development long before he ever joined the company. He even attached files as proof. But here's where it got almost funny. The proof he sent was the exact same code he stole from me, with my old comments and to-do note still inside. He didn't even bother to remove them. One of the files literally had a note in my handwriting, "Fix hacky workaround later." HR wasn't stupid. They could see what was going on. But they told me to stay professional and not escalate things. I nodded. But inside, I knew Alan wasn't done. And I was right. A few days later, one of my friends from the company sent me screenshots from Slack. Alan had been messaging people behind the scenes, trying to convince them to join his new venture. He told them I was unstable, that I was out to ruin him, that the takedown was temporary and investors were still backing him. He was trying to poach devs, using my reputation as leverage. That was the first time I felt real anger. Not just stillness, not quiet planning, actual heat. He was trying to burn me down to protect his lie. So I decided to escalate too. I took my entire log, every Git commit, every file comparison, every email and Slack message, and I started packaging it. Not just for the hosting platform this time, for his investors, his partners, even the press. I wanted to show not just that he stole from me, but that he built his whole company on theft. The more I dug, the more I found. His investor pitch decks? Half of the screenshots were literally from staging servers at my company. His demo video? It used assets from our license design kit. His launch blog? Word for word copied sections from Medium articles he didn't even credit. It was like peeling back a rotten onion. Every layer showed more lies. I hadn't even sent anything yet when I got the next surprise. Alan showed up at the office. He wasn't supposed to, he had quit, but he walked in like he still ran the place, demanding meetings, yelling in the lobby. Security eventually had to escort him out. I wasn't there that day, but people told me he looked wrecked. Hair messy, suit wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. The charm was gone. That should have been enough for me. But I couldn't let go of one thought. Alan wasn't just stealing code. He was stealing years of my work, my reputation, my future. And if I didn't finish this, he'd find another way back in. He'd do it to me again. He'd do it to someone else. So I kept pushing. I started drafting the emails. Step 2 was about to begin. I thought sending those investor emails would be the big move, but something happened before I even hit send. One morning, I logged into GitHub and noticed strange activity. Commits were being pushed to a public repo under Alan's new startup account. At first, I thought he was careless. But when I opened the repo, my stomach dropped. It wasn't just my old code. It was my current work. Stuff I had been building inside our company just days earlier. Whole modules, internal libraries, even things that weren't released yet. He had somehow gotten into the private repos. At first, I panicked. Did he still have access? I checked permissions. He was removed months ago. That's when I realized what happened. Back when he was still my boss, he must have cloned huge portions of the company repos to his personal machine. He'd been sitting on them, waiting to dump them online. This wasn't just about me anymore. He was leaking company property, proprietary tools we hadn't even launched, sensitive integrations. If those stayed up, it wouldn't just ruin Alan, it could ruin my entire company. I went straight to our CTO with what I found. He was furious. Within hours, the legal team was involved. They filed takedowns, sent cease and desist letters, everything. Alan's repo was pulled in less than 24 hours. But Alan wasn't finished. The same night, he posted a long rant on Twitter, said he was a whistleblower exposing toxic corporate practices. He claimed the company stole his intellectual property and silenced him. He tagged tech journalists. Some even retweeted it before realizing the details didn't add up. And then the first real twist. I got a DM from one of his supposed investors, a guy named Victor. He had seen Alan's posts, and he wanted to know the truth. He told me Alan had already burned through most of the seed money, spent it on ads, a fancy office, consulting fees. Nothing was left. Now the investors were asking questions, and Alan was feeding them lies. Victor wasn't just curious, he was angry. He said, "If you have proof, I'll listen." So I sent it. Everything. Git logs, side-by-side code comparisons, timestamps, even Alan's old emails. I held nothing back. 2 days later, Victor called me. He said the investors were pulling out. Not just pulling out, they were preparing a lawsuit. Fraud, misrepresentation, IP theft. Alan hadn't just stolen from me. He had lied to everyone around him, taken their money, and bet it all on my work. That should have been the end. But then came the part one didn't expect. Someone from HR pulled me aside. Quietly. She said, "Be careful. Alan's been calling people here. Asking about you. Asking where you live." It hit me then. Alan wasn't going to just lose gracefully. He was unraveling. And when people like him unravel, they look for someone to blame. And in his mind, that someone was me. After HR warned me, I started paying closer attention. I don't scare easy, but I wasn't stupid either. I checked my social media. Sure enough, Alan had followed me on a burner account. No posts, no followers, but the timing lined up with when he started losing investors. Then a coworker texted me late one night, saw Alan outside the office, just standing there. This was weeks after he'd been banned from the building. I brushed it off at first, told myself he was desperate, not dangerous. But then I came home one evening and noticed a car parked across the street. Black sedan. Same one 2 nights in a row. On the third night, when I walked out to take the trash, the car pulled off fast the second I looked at it. It wasn't paranoia anymore. I started documenting everything again. License plates times photos. If Alan wanted to scare me, I'd treat it the same way I treated his stolen code, with receipts. Then came the nastiest twist yet. I got an email from my company's security team. Someone had tried to access my work account from an unknown IP. Multiple failed logins. Same attempt on my personal Gmail. Same day. They froze my accounts and reset everything. That was Alan. It had his fingerprints all over it. I realized he wasn't just trying to build a company anymore. He wasn't trying to win investors back. He wasn't even trying to fix his image. He wanted to drag me down with him. If he couldn't have what I built, he wanted me ruined. But what Alan didn't know was that his investors weren't done digging either. One of them, Victor, the same guy I had sent proof to, called me again. He said Alan had been lying on his taxes, misreporting startup funds as personal research grants. Now the IRS was interested. At that moment, it hit me. Alan wasn't just fighting me anymore. He was fighting on every front. His investors, the hosting platforms, my company, now the government. He was cornered and cornered people lash out. The pressure was eating him alive. A week later, someone from my old team told me Alan had shown up drunk at a local tech meetup, ranting about me by name, saying I was a thief, saying I destroyed him. People started recording him. Those clips made their way online. It didn't take long for the tech press to pick them up. Articles started coming out, not about Alan's startup, but about his meltdown. His name was being dragged through the mud, this time by people I had never even spoken to. I thought that would be enough. But then one night, I came home to find an envelope taped to my front door. No name on it. Inside were printed screenshots of my own Git commits. My comments, my work, circled in red marker like he was trying to prove something. That's when I knew Alan wasn't done. Not until I finished this for good. And step 3 was already forming in my head. After I found that envelope on my door, I stopped pretending this was just about stolen code. Alan wanted to intimidate me. He wanted me scared, quiet, maybe even paranoid enough to slip up. But he underestimated me again. I called a lawyer. Not just for copyright anymore. I told him everything about the code, theft, the stalking, the car outside, the break-in attempts on my accounts, the envelope. He didn't even hesitate. We're escalating this, he said. That's when I filed a restraining order. I had the license plate photos, security reports from my company, screenshots of his burner accounts, the envelope itself. It wasn't hard to convince a judge that Alan was harassing me. The order was granted. Alan was officially barred from coming near me, my home, or my workplace. If he showed up again, it was jail time. But that wasn't the real revenge. That was just the shield. The sword came from what I'd been building with Victor and the other investors. They were furious. Alan hadn't just wasted their money. He had lied on legal documents, misused funds, and forged progress updates with my stolen code. They had enough evidence now, thanks to me, to build a solid case. Fraud, IP theft, misrepresentation. They were filing a civil suit, and at the same time, the IRS had picked up the trail. Victor told me Alan had claimed research write-offs for his startup spending. The problem was, most of that money went to things like personal luxury trips, high-end electronics, even a leased sports car. None of it matched what he filed. The investors, the IRS, and my company's legal team all closing in at once. It was like 3 walls collapsing on him. The final blow, though, came from the tech press. Once the lawsuits were public record, reporters dug deeper. They found his LinkedIn rants, his drunken meetup meltdown, his startup's takedown notices. Headlines popped up everywhere. Startup founder implodes after code theft allegations. His name became a cautionary tale. He went from being the visionary founder to a punchline in the span of a month. I didn't even need to say a word. The proof spoke for me. The last time I saw Alan was in a courthouse. He looked smaller. No slick hair, no polished grin, no shiny shoes, just a crumpled suit and red eyes. He didn't look at me once. The judge read out the charges, the suits, the penalties. Alan didn't fight. He couldn't. The paper trail was ironclad. He lost everything. The startup, the investors, the car, the apartment he bragged about. His professional reputation was scorched. No one in tech would touch him again. And me? I walked out with my record clean. My name cleared. My work proven as mine. My company even gave me a quiet raise after all of it, though that mattered less than just knowing the truth was public. The best part wasn't watching Alan lose his money or his company. The best part was that he had to live with the reality. Every ounce of energy he stole from me turned into the noose around his own neck. He thought I was too quiet to fight back. He thought I was just an engineer he could strip parts from. He was wrong. I didn't just get revenge. I made sure there was no way back for him. And in the end, the silence after he was gone, that was the sweetest part of all.